Hero Himmel, Priest Hyder, Dwarven warrior Eisen, and Elven mage Frieren set off on a 10-year quest to defeat the Demon King. They breach the Dark Fortress, slay the tyrant, and save the world. The era of darkness is over. In almost any other anime, the credits would roll right here. But in Soso no Frieren, this absolute victory is literally page 1. Take a look at this timeline mapping a 1,000-year lifespan. For Frieren, an elven mage, that epic, decade-long war to save the world registers as a microscopic speck. To her, it felt like a brief weekend trip. Because her perception of time is so stretched out, she navigated that entire adventure with a sense of casual detachment. She fought alongside her human comrades, but she never truly felt the need to get to know them on a deep, personal level. By skipping the happily ever after, the story forces us to look at what happens next. The external battle to save the world is already won. The real conflict becomes Frieren's internal battle to understand the humans she fought beside. If we extend this timeline forward 50 years, Frieren's segment remains entirely unchanged. But for her human companions, 50 years is a lifetime. We watch them age rapidly, approaching the inevitable end of their biological clocks. Hero Himmel eventually passes away. It's a quiet, peaceful death from old age, surrounded by the citizens who gathered to mourn the man who saved them. Frieren attends the funeral expecting to feel her usual detachment. Instead, she breaks down. Standing over his casket, the reality hits her. She had a century to understand him, and she never bothered to try. That sudden, crushing weight is Pashtatop, a profound regret. This grief becomes the catalyst that forces her out of her complacency and onto a new, entirely solitary path. Frieren's immortality functions as a tragic mechanism of accumulated grief. She is biologically locked into a cycle of outliving every person she chooses to love. When Kanehito Yamada first pitched the story to Shogugakuen in 2019, it was actually conceived as a comedy. But working with illustrator Tsukasa Abe, the premise evolved into something far more melancholic and thoughtful. Frieren begins retracing her steps across the northern lands. Her destination is Oriol, a mythical resting place of souls, where she hopes to speak to Himmel just one last time. She doesn't make this trek alone. She is soon joined by Frieren, a young war orphan raised by the priest Hyder, and Stark, a cowardly human warrior trained by Eisen. These two teenagers are completely different from the legendary heroes who raised them. Stark is terrified of monsters, and Frieren spends half her time scolding Frieren for being lazy. Yet in combat, they execute their master's techniques with absolute protective precision. By choosing to travel with the disciples of her fallen friends, Frieren embraces the Jivan Chakra, the cycle of life. She is actively participating in the generational passing of the torch. The northern lands are still dangerous. Even with the Demon King dead, remnants of his army, like the incredibly powerful 7 Sages of Destruction, including Aura and Mocht, still control massive territories. Demons in this universe operate under a terrifying biological reality. They are apex predators, completely devoid of empathy. They only mimic human speech and friendly gestures to deceive their prey before moving in for the kill. Compare that brutal, sociopathic existence to Frieren's current lifestyle. She spends years scouring the continent for entirely trivial magic, spells that clear rust off statues or create fields of blooming flowers. Pitting these emotionless tooling machines against Frieren's new hobby highlights a profound shift in her character. She has transitioned into an immortal being who prioritizes the small, fleeting joys of human life over the demands of war. This bar chart tracks the manga's exponential sales growth, which recently blasted past 32 million copies in circulation. That kind of volume completely dwarfs standard benchmarks for typical fantasy series. The critical reception matches the commercial explosion. The manga took home the 48th Kodansha Manga Award, and Madhouse's pristine anime adaptation won Best Drama at the Crunchyroll Awards. Across its 14 distinct story arcs, from the Beyond Journey's End arc up to the Foundation Festival arc, the series consistently rejects high-stakes, world-ending plots. Instead, it dedicates its pages to quiet, reflective moments about learning how to live. The core philosophy here is inescapable. Summer, or time, is fleeting and stops for no one. But the bonds we forge and the memories we create within that brief window become immortal. We all have a Himmel in our lives, someone who, despite their brief presence, dictates the direction we take long after they're gone. Drop a comment below and tell us who that person is for you. And if you haven't yet, go experience Frieren's journey for yourself.